Okay, Rabotai, tonight is Yudalid Iyar, which makes it Pesach Sheni, which is a very apropos time to eat matzah. Yes, true. Yeah, tonight's Pesach Sheni. But also, just to put into perspective, what's Pesach Sheni? There were people who were tamemit, right? And they said, we don't want to lose out from the mitzvah. So they complained, so to speak, to Moshe, and Moshe spoke to Hashem, right? So, and then Hashem said they have a Pesach Sheni. So a couple of great things over here. First of all, they felt, why should I miss out? That should be one lesson to learn from Pesach Sheni. Why should I miss out? Whenever I cannot do a mitzvah, that's the feeling that I should have. I shouldn't be the feeling like, oh, I can't go to shul today, Baruch Hashem, I don't have to go to shul. I'm not feeling well, my stomach's hurting, like this, my that. Oh, it's okay, I don't have to go. But more, when you got out, why should I miss out? Why should I miss out from this great opportunity to do a mitzvah? That's one way. That's one thing you should take out from Pesach Sheni. Another thing is they asked the question, and Moshe Rabbeinu went to Hashem. And because of that question, they got another portion in the Torah. The Parsha of Pesach Sheni. If they never said, can we have it, you won't have Pesach Sheni. Right. It's very good that if you have a question, you ask the question, and you got to clarify it. You bring more Torah into the world. All right? You bring more clarification into the world. You more clarification for people. So it's important that if a person has a question, he asks it, and you'll see HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him a second chance. So we all want second chances. So in essence, I think Pesach Sheni is also your time for teshuvah, to do tshuva. Right? It's second chances. You didn't get a chance the first time around. Here's your chance second time around. Now, what else is Yudalid B'Iyar? We know that we had one of the great Tanaim. He was famously known as Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. Baal HaNes means what? Baal HaNes, the master of miracles. He's the master of miracles.
He was Ashkenazi or?
He was a Tana. He was a Tana. So I'm not sure what your question is. He was a Tana. At that time, there was no such thing as Sfari Ashkenazi. There was. There were Jews in different areas in the world. I don't know if their Mesorah was, or they had different halachot to an extent that you would say one is or the other. But it is the Hilulah tonight of Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. So I would like to.
I was there by him in Israel.
Right, it's a great opportunity to be there. But let's talk a little bit about the man, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. Let's talk a little about what we can learn from Meir Baal HaNes, and then let's share some stories of Meir Baal HaNes, and then we'll look into other things as well. The Torah tells us in this week's parasha, Mishpat echad yeh lachem, kager ka'ezrach yeh, ki ani Hashem Elokechem. You shall have one halacha for both the Jew and the ger. The Jew from birth and the ger should have the same halacha. We don't play favorites, and everybody is citizen, and everybody gets the same halacha. In fact, Rashi explains, I am Hashem your God, Ani Hashem Elokechem, the God of all of you. Just as I attach my name upon the Jewish people, so do I attach my name upon the Gerim. That's what Hashem said. Ani Hashem Elokechem, my name is on the Jewish people, my name is on the Gerim as well. Lahalacha, a convert is a full-fledged Jew. And all the laws of the Torah apply to him as well. Okay? The Medrash says that a convert, a ger, is even more beloved before Hashem. Why? Said the Midrash. How did Hashem get the Jews to believe in him? Well, there was a Mamad Sinai. There was the Har Sinai. What happened in Har Sinai? There was thunder. There was lightning. There was flashing. Mountains trembling. The blast of the shofar. They all got spooked, so to speak, right? They all saw these great miracles, and they said, we believe. Na'aseh v'nishma, we're going to do it. Right? And they're going to do it. Says the Midrash, but there was no thunder and lightning and shofar blasts or mountains trembling when the Ger joined the Jewish people. The Ger joined the Jewish people without any of that fanfare. And yet he still joined the Jewish people. Therefore, Hashem says, Hashem loves the Gerim, maybe slightly even more than the regular Jew. And in fact, every day in the Tefillah, we mention the Ger. Where do we say it? Where do we say it?
What, the Ger?
על צדיקים, על החסידים, ועל שדמך בית ישראל, ועל זקנים, ועל פלאי בית צפונים, ועל גרי הצדק, ועלינו. First the ger, and then us, we say. ועלינו, us, after the ger. There is a love, b'kadosh baruch hu, for the gerim. And they're just to mention, there's Nachi Gordon from Meaningful People. I'm not telling you to listen to the podcast, but he has a beautiful podcast. And in his podcast, he interviews Gerim from time to time. I think I heard 2 or 3 Gerim on his podcast. And just to hear their stories of what made them to become Jewish, right? Sometimes it's just like mind-boggling. You have Jews who are like, I wish I wasn't Jewish, right? And then you find these guys who like had lucrative careers in the secular world, non-Jews, and they chose to become Jews. And this is what he says. This is the Chumash says. Hashem loves Gerim, perhaps even more than the regular Jew. And it's important on us to realize that. Like Rabbi Gavriel said, we have some of the famous Tanaim were Gerim. Some of the famous rabbis in Jewish history were Gerim. Unkelos. Everyone opens up the Chumash, you have the Targum, that's Targum Unkelos. He was a Ger. He was the nephew of Titus. Shemaiah of Talion. They were Gerim from Sanherib. Not Shemaiah. Of Talion. They were the head of the Nasi and the Av Bedin. Earlier for Shemaiah. And they were Gerim from Sanherib. Rabbi Akiva was the son of a Ger or himself a Ger. And who else was a Ger? Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes was a descendant of Gerim. Who was his ancestor? You all remember famously that when the Romans wanted to destroy the Beit HaMikdash, they sent this Nero Nero, Caesar, they sent him to Jerusalem to go seek it out and see what can be done. And he went, remember he shot the arrows, and every time he shot the arrow, it went facing Jerusalem, right? And every time he went, he did it in all 4 directions. No matter which way he was standing, the arrow went to Jerusalem. So he said, look, God's given it to me. And then he sees a little kid walking by, and like we talked about last week, he said to the little kid, Psokli pesukach, tell me what you learned in Yeshiva. And the kid said, a pasuk in Yecheskel, I will take my revenge of Edom by the hands of my nation Israel. Meaning, even though Edom is going to come and they're going to be able to be successful, I'm going to punish them. And Nero said, why? I don't want to get involved in this. He ran away and became a ger. And from Nero, Kesar comes out Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. Okay? So, just to start, the greatness of Gerim. We know Rabbi Akiva teaches us in the Gemara in Yevamot that if a person studied in his youth, he should not say, I studied enough. No one should ever say, I finished studying. But he should study even in his old age. He should never say, I taught students once, I'm good. He should continue to teach. And he brought a pasuk in Kohelet. One never knows if his efforts in the young will be enough in the old. And Rabbi Akiva was a prime example. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students. And they all died out. All of them. during this Yemei Sefirah. That's why we don't take haircuts, we don't shave. Avelut, so to speak, for that period. And we talked about why they deserve to die, so to speak. They didn't give kavod to one another. What does that mean? Just really on Regel Achas, Rav Pam explains that it's not that they didn't show kavod. The people, these students, they said, listen, we don't know all the Torah, right? Because we don't know everything. We know we don't know everything. So my friend doesn't know everything either. So I don't have to show him so much kavod. No, a rabbi I have to show a lot of kavod. To my friend, I don't have to show him so much kavod. So Rav Pam, that was a mistake. You have to know that you don't know everything. But for other people, you should always give them proper respect, even more respect. Very important to always give Talmidei Chachamim, even if you think they don't know everything, you give them proper respect. That's not your call to judge which one gets, which.
So how you show respect?
By
I understand we're getting up when Rabbi walks up. How does
respect is not only in actions, also in thoughts and deeds. So how I act around them, how I think about them, how I stuff like that. It's very careful. A person to be very careful. Unfortunately, we have machloket between different rabbanim. Right? One rabbi says do like this, one rabbi says like that. And sometimes there's major machloket. And sometimes the students or the followers of these rabbis, they start fighting at levels that are unwarranted for. Meaning, the machloket is legit, but it's not to say that rabbi doesn't know what he's talking about, and this one is, and that one's not good. That's not the way we talk, ever. Every rabbi, whether he's from your circles or not from your circles, if he's a legit rabbi, does stuff la halacha, person has to give him full, proper respect. You don't have to follow him necessarily. He's not your posek, right? But he is a Rav. He's a Talmid Chacham. He's somebody that you have to show proper respect.
So man is
If he's a legit halachic following, he is. From what we understand, he is. And as such, it might not be what we hold or what we do exactly, but as long as he hasn't left the ramka, the boundaries of the Torah, he's a proper respect. Once he leaves the boundaries, that's a whole different story.
That's what they say.
That's a whole different story. I have to know who said that to make that judgment call. Right now, I can't. I don't want to use names. We have a recording, but we can talk about it offline. Now, what happened to Rabbi Akiva? All his students died. So what did he do? He gave up. He said, everything I tried, the korchi style, everything is garbage. So dupul, everything worthless. I'm going to give up. No, not Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, that means I have a new challenge. And I have to start again. And he went to the south and he found 5 students. Who were the 5 students? Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai, Rabbi Yossi Ben Halafta, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Next week's going to be like Bomer. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Elazar Ben Shamua. And the most famous of his students was Rabbi Meir Bar HaNes. The Hilulat tonight. Here is the matzah for Pesach Sheni, and we're going to learn Rabbi Meir. And in fact, it does never say, I'll take a question in a second, it never says Rabbi Meir's father's name. Why? Because Rabbi Meir's father was a ger. He was a son of Gerim. Yes?
So these 5 students saw what happened to 24,000. They weren't afraid to follow Rabbi Akiva.
I don't think they blamed Rabbi Akiva.
So what happened? It is such a big tzaddik and 24,000 is a huge amount.
So you see, I think it's a very important lesson. Don't blame the rabbi.
No,
the rabbi is not to be blamed. It's the people.
Okay, fine. So why would students die? So I want to be a student and die?
So what they learn? How to be nohei kavod to one another. You don't, see, that's exactly what Akiva taught. I didn't give up. And you students don't give up either. You're going to be better students. You have to work harder. You have to do the better acts. We don't give up. This is a thing we have to know. We just have to say, Lama nigara, why can't we do it? What do I have wrong? Why should I lose out? What can I do different? It's important in life to never give up. It's to always keep trying. There's going to be lots of reasons to give up. But you only need one reason to continue to try. You're still alive, and Kadosh Baruch Hu wants you to live and to function. Now, in fact, the Pirkei Avot tells us Torah is not an inheritance. Even though the Pasuk says, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Continuing the Pasuk, Moshe Kilat Yaakov, which means it's a Yerusha. It's an inheritance. So is it or is it not? So Chachamim tell us it's not a biological inheritance. Just because I have Torah doesn't mean my children will have Torah. Just because my father has Torah doesn't mean I have Torah. Everybody has an inheritance of Torah. Torah belongs to all the Jews. However, you have to work on it. Look at these Gerim, Shemaya, Talion, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Meir, Baal, HaNes, Unkelus. All these are Gerim. Their father didn't have Torah. They got the Torah. How? They're Jews now. They're converts, right? And once you are a Jew and you want to learn Torah, the Torah becomes yours. A person should never think, what can I do? Who was my father? You know who my father was, who my mother was. They knew nothing. They didn't know nothing. What can I do? I'm a Pasha Yid. I'm a simple Jew. We're all Pasha Yidim. We're all simple Jews. But we're all so powerful in our simplicity that we all can learn Torah. And we all have to get that Yerusha. We all have to get that inheritance. We have to say the lineage begins with me. Always. That's how you have to always look at it. There was a Chassidus story once. There was a family, they had a Sefer Yichus. They had a Sefer of lineage, of how they were related to great tzaddikim. And there was a fire. The fire broke out. The whole house burned, including that book. And the mother of this boy said, "Oy vey, what are we going to do? Our Sefer Yichus, our book of lineage, got burnt." And he said to his mother, "Don't worry. I'm going to start a new Sefer Yichus. I'm going to start a new book of lineage from me. I'm going to be the greatest tzaddik that I can be. And the book starts now, again, from me." It's a very important concept. The greatest Chachamim of our history prove it to us. Unklish, Meir, Rabbi Akiva, Meir. They had no privileged background. They did not descend from Torah families. And yet, they became the greatest of their generations. It's very important to realize that in life, you don't need privilege to get to the greatness. Sometimes even privilege, right, is a detractor. Because I feel that I already have it, I don't try hard. Rav Pam would say, he says, if you look in the yeshiva system and you look at the boys, he says, not necessarily the boys who come from the greatest families or have the greatest heads become the greatest rabbis and tzaddikim of the generation. He says, you want to know who it is? It's those boys in yeshiva who have it hard to learn, but they don't give up. They keep working on it, challenging themselves. That's right. They're the ones that become the greatest chachamim. Why? The people who have it easy come, right? Easy come, easy go. They're not working on it. But the people who sit and they hover and they work over and they work and they do it, that's what lasts. Yeah, there was everybody knows the story of Elazar ben Hurkanes, right? Elazar ben Hurkanes came from a rich family. He wasn't smart. His father said, "No Torah for you." He said, "I want to leave Torah." His father said, "If you go to Torah, you go learn Torah, I'm going to disown you. Right? I'm not going to give you anything." And he went to Torah and he learned Yochanan ben Zakkai till he became such a great speaker. His father came and everything. Okay, they got together. Everything was all right. But he also grew to be the greatest sage of his generation. And Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkanes' greatest student was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkanes, who had no Torah as a young man, and went to learn Torah as a young man, his family disowned him. And they were rich. They wouldn't give him anything. He had nothing to eat. That's how poor he was when he was learning Torah. Yet he went and he learned Torah. He taught Rabbi Akiva, who was not privileged. Rabbi Akiva taught Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, who was not privileged. And yet they all became the greatest tzaddikim of their time. Again and again to show you, and that's the lesson from Gerim. That's the lesson from these great chachamim. You don't have to come from somewhere. You have to become someone. Sometimes people walk around and they say, "Oh, my father was this, my grandfather was that," and you? Oh no, my father in Samarkand used to go to mikvah. My grandfather used to do shchita. This, and you.
They say generations going down. Generations going down.
I agree to you, but you right now.
No, but we got heard from communist.
But
regime.
you right now. The lineage starts right now, I will tell you. Right now, where are you? What are you doing?
40 years, what? The slave people were dying out in the desert?
Yeah.
So we are slaves.
Nah. You're starting lineage right now. If you didn't start here, Rabbi Akiva was 40 years old. Rabbi Akiva was 40 years old, I will tell you. By the way, 40 years old then and 40 years old now, right? They say 70 is the new 50, you know, everything is... So you're not old at all. You're young, spring chicken.
Yeah.
You just have to take out the sefer and learn. You have to go to the right shiurim and you have to put your heads to it.
Well, we're doing it right now.
That's right. Very good. Very good. This is how we build it up. Now, Rabbi Meir is so great. Rabbi Meir is so great. The Gemara says any Mishnah which is anonymous is from Rabbi Meir. If it doesn't say who is teaching it, it's Rabbi Meir.
Which Meir?
Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes.
There was several. There's another.
All the Torah transmission we have today, Mishnah, Tosefta, Sifra, Sifri, Zohar, are all from the students of Rabbi Akiva. All the Torah we have today, all from Rabbi Akiva. They didn't give up, they weren't privileged, and yet they left the Torah in this world. The Gemara in Eruvin tells us,
They didn't have a computer.
Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes,
Samsung.
it's revealed and known before one who spoke, and the world came into being, that there was no one in Rabbi Meir's generation like him. In fact, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, they say his name wasn't really Rabbi Meir, like Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. It was that he's great in Chokhmah. His real name was Rabbi Nehorai. Rabbi Nehorai.
Nehorai.
Yes. And why was he called Rabbi Meir? Because he was Meir. He brought light to everybody who learned Torah with him. What? Ken, but it's still light. But they wanted to use a lashon Meir of he's lighting up the world.
So Haorai is also like.
And not only was he so great in learning Torah,
Ner.
Forget.
Nehorai is also from a lashon of light, correct? And he also learned famously. We all know he learned from Acher, right? Acher, Rabbi Elisha ben Abua, right, who went off the derech. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes continued to learn with him, continued trying to make him do tshuva.
It says halacha, you're not allowed to learn.
Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes was so smart. He knew, and no one else was allowed to do this. Only Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. He knew how to take the good from the bad. Unfortunately, we sometimes if we go and we don't know the guy is and he's talking bad and good, we're not going to be able to filter it out. You take everything. Sometimes we take just the bad and we forget the good, right? Because the bad is what we remember, right? So I remember just to say, Moshe, you brought it to my attention. We were in camp and we had a Torah tape library there. All our rebbeim in the camp, when they gave shmoozes and stuff like that, we recorded it and then they would sell it. And there was one tape that came out, and there was a ruckus in the camp. Why? Someone said they heard the rabbi in the shir say what he felt was a curse word. Okay, maybe the rabbi didn't feel it was a curse word, but he felt it was a curse word, and everyone went crazy to buy that tape. Okay, and they all went to hear one part. The rabbi said they didn't hear the rest of the shir. They just wanted to hear if the rabbi actually said the curse word in the tape or not. When the tape library got wind of that there was a curse word, maybe a curse word. Because people said no, he was saying this, or he was saying that. It wasn't sure. It wasn't so clear. The tape library took it upon themselves to blur out those words, so they kind of destroy it from the tape. So the future copies of the tape. This is back in the days when you had tapes and CDs and stuff like that. They kind of blurred it out, and whether that was the right thing to do or not, but whatever.
For business, it wasn't right.
Right, for business now. But that's what sometimes happens. A person takes the wrong thing out of the shir. Oh, did you hear the rabbi? I got angry. Right? They take the wrong things out. But Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes knew how to take out the right thing. In fact, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said that he merited to learn Torah from Rabbi Meir. And all that he has, all his intellect, is all because he saw Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, the redactor of the Mishnah, the great Yehuda Nasi, he said all his chokhmah comes from seeing Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. And he said, but I only saw Rabbi Meir's back. I never saw his front. Because in the times of in the old, the Rebbe would sit in the middle, the students would sit around him.
Okay.
And the older students would sit in the front of him, and the youngest students sat in the back of him. At the time Rabbi Yehuda Anasi was in the yeshiva, he was a young boy. So he sat in the back. So he said, I only saw Rabbi Meir's back. If I would have seen his front, oh, how much greater I would have been. I mean, that's an idea of it's important to see your rabbis.
Yehuda was his student?
Yeah.
That's what it said,
Yeah. Rabbi Yehuda Anasi was after, it was in generation after. He said, what merit I have in being sharper in intellect than my peers is because I saw Rabbi Meir from behind. Had I seen his actual face, I would have become even sharper. Rabbi HaNes was his Rebbe, one of his Rebbeim. Now, Rabbi Meir was so great in Chokhmah. However, the halacha is not always like Rabbi Meir. It's hardly actually never like Rabbi Meir. And one of the reasons is because Rabbi Meir would teach, you would say something's tahor, he would show you 500 ways how it's tameh. You show something's tameh, he would show you 500 ways tahor. So the practical halacha sometimes were very confusing for his students. And therefore it wasn't always established like Rabbi Meir because of, he was, sometimes you have someone who's so brilliant, not controversial, he's someone who's so brilliant that we can't keep up with his chachma. And therefore we don't understand it, and it's hard to come out from a psak halacha from his shiurim sometimes, right? That's why it's also important when shiurim are being given to know which shiur you're in. Meaning, if I'm in a practical halacha shiur, then that should be a practical halacha shiur, and you shouldn't go too much into the pilpulim, but rather the final. This is this opinion of the Gemara. That's this opinion of the Gemara. You have to do some in-depth work, but not too much. When you're learning Gemara, to learn Gemara, you can go be'iyun. You can go further. You have to know where you are because you have to know your audience. And you have to know what your tachlis at the end of the day is to come out with. Also, when you do learn in a Gemara shiur, unless the rabbi or the magashir says this is practical halacha, don't take anything as being practical halacha that's brought out from the Gemara shiur, because the Gemara has many opinions that we don't paskin like. And there's Rishonim, Achonim, there's Psak Shulchan Aruch, there's Ramah, there's different things that Lamaisa how we practice. So you can't, when you learn Gemara, you have to be careful. If the rabbi says this is practical halacha, this is Shulchan Aruch, then fine, this is what you go out with. But if you didn't say that and you're just mentioning halacha, you have to be careful. You have to know where you are at that time. So in a similarity, when Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes would give shiur, it was such a powerful shiur, it was so great that it left his students sometimes very confused, and they weren't able to extract practical halacha from his shiurim many times. Now, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes was a great lecturer. The Gemara says he would deliver a sermon every Friday night, and every Friday night it was delivered in 3 parts: 1/3 halacha, 1/3 agadah, stories and stuff, and 1/3 mashelim, giving mashal, giving parables. So he had 2/3 in stories and parables. Very important for a speaker, right? Or a darshan, or someone who's going to speak to the crowd, to keep it interesting. Okay? Rav Pam, Zechatzidek Baruch would say the greatest, the number one thing a speaker has to know about, a person who speaks to the public, is to know what not to say. Okay? Because Chachamim, we have a lot on our heads. We're learning a lot. We have a lot of things in there, but not everything is shareable in crowds. That are, who's your audience, right? If you have women and men and children, they're not going to understand your pilpulim in a certain sugya. You have to know how to
deliver it to us.
To deliver it to something that's going to be understandable and palatable and something for everybody. But you have to use chokhmah to do that. Rav Belsky, I remember when he came to the Siyum, we made an Order Natan back in the year, I don't remember the year anymore, but when he was there, we had one of the rabbis who spoke asked later on to ask Rav Belsky, turned to him and said, when you speak in public, when you're giving a speech, stick to one topic. He said, why? He said, because people can only focus on one topic. If you're going to try to bring this, and then that, everybody's not going to remember anything. If you stick to one inyan, But think again. But you know, this is hard on the Talmud Chacham. Because the Talmud Chacham's head is firing away on 14 cylinders, right? And now he has to, so to speak, dumb it down, right? For the crowd, right? It's a talent, and not everybody has it, right? At the next theme that we made, we invited certain local community rabbis, and one of them who came is a big Talmud Chacham. He knows how to learn very, very well. And he spoke, and no one knew how to get him down from the stage. He was up there for 40 minutes, and nobody knew what he was saying. Nobody knew what he was saying. You shot him up, and nobody knew what he's saying. And at some point, you gotta tell him to come off. But no one had the audacity, the chutzpah to get him down. But it got noisy. I think at some point he realized, and he kind of stepped down. But that kind of took away from the rest of the night also, because now the other speakers couldn't speak. No one wanted to hear anything anymore. So you really have to know your audience and stuff like that. And Meir Baal HaNes mastered this trade. Okay, we know the Ben Ish Chai also mastered this trade. People used to come to Yishurim 4 hours long. And people would stay and listen. His voice would boom. There is a mastery to this trait. There's a famous Gemara in Yerushalmi. The Gemara says that it was Friday night, and Meir Baal HaNes was giving his famous Friday night speech, and it went overtime. It sometimes happens, right? It goes overtime. And not only was it so great, the woman would come to it also. You know, the woman came to this Friday night speech. And the Meir Baal HaNes went overtime. She finally comes home, and her husband starts to scream, "Where were you?" Yeah, you know the story. He says, "Where were you?" She says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. The Rabbi Shir went long." He says, "Kakoi Rabbi Shir? What are you talking about, Rabbi Shir? We have the food, Shabbat, Oneg, Seudah. Where are you?" He says to her, "You can't come back home until you go and spit in Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes' face. Face. And she is now kicked out of the house, all right? And she doesn't know what to do. It's Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, Baruch HaKodesh, is told that this woman, Shalom Bayit, was ruined because of him, so to speak. So he wants to remedy it. So he goes around, he tells his students, "My eye is starting to hurt. I need a lady who knows how to fix eyes." So meanwhile, this lady's talking to her neighbor, right? What to do. And then they hear a sound outside, people calling. The Meir Baal HaNes is looking for a lady who knows how to fix eyes. So her neighbor says, go, this is your chance. She says, "I don't know how to fix eyes." Her neighbor says, "Who cares? Just go and spit in his face so you can go back home." Right? And she says, "But I don't know." So her neighbor convinces her and she goes. She comes to the Beit Midrash. And what? Yeah, remember on this? So she comes to the Beit Midrash. And the students say, "Remember on this is the lady. She can fix the eye." So Rabbi Vanessa says, "Are you can fix the eye?" She says, "Be'emet, I cannot. I don't know nothing about doctors, about fixing nothing." So Rabbi Vanessa says, "Not a problem. I need you to spit in my eye 7 times." She says, "To spit in the rabbi?" He says, "Yeah, I need it for my eye. This is how you have to do. Spit 7 times." No, her chance to get back home, right? So she goes ahead and she spits in his eye 7 times. He then turns to her and says, "Now you're going to go home and you're going to tell your husband as follows. You're going to tell your husband, you told me to spit in the rabbi's face 1 time. I didn't just do 1 time. I did 7 times." And he sent her home. The students, Meir Baal HaNes, that were there, they said, "How, Rabbi? How could you allow such a thing? Such busha, such embarrassment." So Meir Baal HaNes, what did he famously say? Well, where is his proof that Shalom Bayit is more important than his own kavod? What? From the halacha of Sota. And the Sota waters, you have to take a parchment with Hashem's name on it, and you erase it, and you put it into the water. Says Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, if you're permitted to erase Hashem's name to make Shalom Bayit, then it's okay to, spit in my face 7 times to make Shalom Bayit.
Did the husband believe it?
How do
Yeah. There was witnesses, students, everyone saw it.
Yeah.
Now, that husband himself has issues to work on because that's not a normal thing to go tell your wife to go spit on the rabbi's
Его
face.
вообще надо было палками побить.
But I think the main part of the story is Meir Baal HaNes of how he dealt with this situation, right? The Meir Baal HaNes was married to a very famous woman. She was the daughter of Rabbi Hanina ben Tardayon. What was her name? Yeah, she was a very big scholar in her own right.
Fulda?
Bruria. So her name was Bruria. She was a daughter of Rabbi Hanina ben Tardayon, one of the Asurei Horgei Malchut. And Bruria would voice her opinion on many laws, many halakha. And she had debates, so to speak, with the Chachamim. One time she offered her opinion, and when they brought her opinion to Rabbi Yehuda, she said Bruria spoke well. She knows what she's talking about. So she wasn't just a speaker, but she was very knowledgeable. The Gemara in Eruvin tells us an interesting story with Bruria. Rabbi Yossi Aglili was on the road, and he didn't know how to get to Lod, to the city of Lod. So he sees Bruria, and he says to Bruria, on which way do we go to Lod? And Bruria tells him, you don't know Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot says, Al tarbe siha im ha'isha. Don't talk too much with the woman. He says, what do you mean? I just want to know where to go. She said, all that you could have said is, to Lod? And a question mark. To Lod? Which way? Without having to say, on which way do we go to Lod? Too many words. Just too many words, she said. She gave him musar. He gave him musar. Okay? Everybody kafi his time and place and stuff like that. But the idea is she was giving musar. She was a smart woman. Okay? She corrected to a student who was once learning, and he was learning in a whisper. She said to the student, you're learning wrong. You have to learn out loud. Because when you learn out loud, the words of the Torah go into your body, and that preserves you. Don't learn in a whisper. Learn out loud. Bruria told his student. One time, Bruria even corrected Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir, we all famously know, Rabbi Meir had some wicked neighbors. Right? And he was praying that what? That they should die. And Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes had some wicked neighbors. They were doing bad things for him. They were causing problems for him.
Make it magic this and that.
So he was davening that Hashem.
He was gonna do it with the rooster.
Yeah, so
He fell asleep.
So Rabbi, so his wife said, "You're davening wrong. You shouldn't daven for their death. You should daven that what? That their sins stop. Don't daven for the sinner to die, but rather daven that they don't do sins." And he prayed for them, and they made tshuva. Bruria was a very, very smart and knowledgeable woman. Listen to this story, Rabotai. The Midrash Mishlei tells us it was Shabbat afternoon, and the 2 sons that Rabbi Meir, 2 of his sons, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes had with his wife Bruria, they passed away on Shabbat. Bruria.
Listen to this, how she presented it.
What did she do? She put them on a bed and covered them with a sheet. When Rabbi Meir returned home after Shabbat, he asked, where are the boys? She said they went to the Beit Midrash. He goes to the Beit Midrash, he doesn't find them there. He comes home, he says, where? She says, I don't know, they're in the Midrash. He makes Havdalah. Again he asks, where are the boys? She said, they're going to come back soon. And then Bruria says to Rabbi Meir, let me ask you a question. If somebody gave you something to hold on to, and then they came back to get it, what do? You give it to them or you don't give it to them? So Meir said, of course you give it to them. If they gave it to you on a loan and now they want it back, you have to give it back to them.
This is different.
So she said to him, come with me. She took him to the room, lifted the sheet, and showed him the lifeless bodies of his 2 sons. And what did Meir Baal HaNes say? Hashem Natan, Hashem Lakach. Blessed Hashem, right? Blessed be the name of Hashem. Because what is it? Just like Hashem gave, Hashem takes. You have no questions. We don't have anything. Who gives us everything? Who gives us everything? Who gives us everything? Hashem! Im Hashem natan, Hashem lakach. Now, of course, you wanted to get it in the best time, and you wanted to go at the proper time. But in the end of the day, Hashem natan, Hashem lakach. Baruch Hashem, we grew up in America. We didn't have, people don't die. People die, but family members, Baruch Hashem, they were healthy and they were alive. And when my aunt passed away, I was her mother was alive. My aunt was like 40-something years old. And I remember the words of my grandmother. When she found out that her daughter passed away, she said, Hashem natan, Hashem lakach. I didn't even know that. Where did she know this from? But she knew it. She said, Hashem gave, Hashem takes. That's what she said. That's, and she said, Hashem natan, Hashem lakach. Those were the words she used. I remember to this day. That's how she processed the information. And that's from who? That's from Buriah. Buriah taught this to the Meir Baal HaNes. Hashem gives, Hashem takes.
He had only 2 sons, that's it?
I don't know if he had more children or not. That's that story from the Midrash. Now, we all know that Rabbi Hanina ben Tardayon, his father-in-law, was killed by the Romans. Right? He was taken with the Torah scroll and they burnt him. And they put wool with water to make it longer and they killed him. They killed his wife and they took his daughter. And she was in a prison. The sister of Buriah. Buriah tells her, Meir Baal HaNes, I can't have my sister in jail. You know who's there? All these ruffians, all these bad people. Please, go save my sister. Right. So Meir Baal HaNes dresses up like a horse rider. And he rides off to the prison. He comes there, the story goes, he tries to bribe the guard. Not yet. They weren't chasing him yet. They were, soon. So he gets there, and he wants to bribe. He has a bag of gold. So the guard says to him, that's very good, but they know how many people are in this jail. And if I let one go, every time I'm going to have problems. They're going to count, it's going to be off. So he says that, so use half the money for yourself and keep bribing the officials who come with some of the gold. Half for you, half for the other people. He says, but yeah, what's going to happen afterwards? So he says, listen, this is what you're going to do. If you ever run out of the money, right, and you're getting into trouble, you're going to say, Elahad de Meir Aneni. Elahad de Meir Aneni. Say it 3 times, and you're going to be fine. Elahad de Meir. Elahad. The God.
So if you guys say this, you can use this word also.
So if you can bring me,
it
brings. Let's finish the story and then we'll talk about it on the side.
Okay. No, I like this idea.
It is it's actually, I'll talk about it in a second. Now, he says this to him. The guy said, you know what, we have a deal. But I need you to prove it to me first. So Meir Baal HaNes, there were some vicious dogs nearby. He, what's it called? He makes the dogs come, and they're starting to come, and they're about to run after Meir Baal HaNes and the guard. The guard jumps over the fence. And Meir Baal HaNes says, Elad Meir Aneni 3 times, and the dogs calm down, and they walk away. So the guard sees this. He says, okay, fine, I agree. You can take this girl. He gets his sister-in-law out. He gives the gold. He gets his sister-in-law out, and he runs away with her. He saves her. Meanwhile, the officials come to the prison. He's starting to bribe them off, week after week, whenever they come. He runs out of money. And no more bribing off. They say, where's the girl? They take him to court. And they want to kill him, this guy, the guy who let him go. And he uses the words, and he says it 3 times. And all of a sudden, those guards can't move. No one can touch him. They can't move. They can't kill him. So they say, what is these words? What are these magic words? He said, listen, this rabbi came and he told me this, he told me that, and this is how it happened. So they made him show him what Rabbi Meir looks like. And that's when they started running after Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes.
Oh, they find out.
Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes is out there. They see him. They start running after him. What does Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes? He sees these goyim are after him. What does he do?
Uses the same thing.
No, he says if I use a miracle, it's going to take away from my zechutim, from my mitzvot.
He pretend like
He may pretend that he's not Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. How? There was a pot of food that a guy was making. He had the food cart, the food truck.
Oh, not kosher.
Right. So Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes runs to the food. He puts his fingers inside, and then he puts it back in his mouth. Now what did he do? He put some of his fingers inside, and he put a different finger in his mouth. He never actually put that finger that he touched the food in his mouth. But meanwhile, the Romans or whatever it were, they saw this guy putting the like this. He puts the pinky, touches that. They said this guy can't be Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes is a Baal HaNes. You can't make nes if you're eating non-kosher. Can't be him. Let him go. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes had to run away. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes was huge. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes was amazing. In fact, let me just get this siddur over here.
What do you mean?
And he was a huge tzaddik until this very day.
Physically?
Huge in spirituality. Until this very day, people use, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes and the sechutim, they give tzedakah, they pray that he should help them out as well. It's interesting, if you use this, I like to use this nusach for Havdalah, that's found here in the Art Scroll Sephardic Siddur for Motzei Shabbat, because in there you say these 3 times.
Yeah?
You say it. So that's why when I found this version of the Havdalah, I started saying, so I'm just going to find it right over here. Okay, here we go. No, so here he writes over here. So it's in parentheses. Not everybody says it, but I started saying it, and many Sephardim in Eretz Yisrael say it this way. So you say "V'noach matzachem b'nei Hashem" 3 times. V'noach matzachem b'nei Hashem, v'noach matzachem b'nei Hashem. Kenim tzachem yisachato b'nei Elohim v'Adam, and then you say "Elahad Meir Anenu, Elahad Meir Anenu, Elahad Meir Anenu." You say it 3 times, right at the start of the week. In fact, I was told by both my grandmother and by my father that when his father and his grandfather used to go to the business in the morning and they would open the locks of their store, they would say, "Elakad Meir Anenu." As they would open it up, they would, Aneni, to answer me, they would say, Anenu was answer us, Aneni is answer me, right? So they would invoke the zechut of Meir Baal HaNes. Right? So it is a thing, and a person has to know that Meir Baal HaNes, again, comes from Gerim. He worked on himself. He learned the Torah. He came to who he was. And all these different stories that we talked about shows us the greatness of Meir Baal HaNes. And what does it mean? Elakad Meir Aneni. The God who gives light, one meaning. The one who gives light, the God of Rabbi Meir. In fact, it's brought down that in times of a trouble, a person should light a candle, give tzedakah in Rabbi Meir's memory, and say 3 times, Elakad Meir Aneni. And Hashem will help him to get through his troubles, as he was a miracle worker. He did many great things. And this is just one, I'll say one other famous story Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes that everybody knows. Once Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes was traveling with a few rabbis, and they came to an inn on Erev Shabbat, and they all had money, and they wanted to, They wanted to leave their money somewhere. So they asked the innkeeper, "We want to leave money with you." So Rabbi Meir said to him, "Hold on, what's your name?" to the innkeeper. The innkeeper said, "My name is Kidor." That's my name, Kidor. And Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes in his head said, "Listen, there's a pasuk in the Torah says, Kidor ta'apuchot hema, banim lo emun bam, for they are a generation that turns the wrong way. Children who cannot be trusted." Kidor. The word Kidor is in a pasuk that says they can't be trusted. So Meir Baal HaNes said, in his mind, "I can't trust this guy. I'm not giving him my money." He didn't tell the other rabbis. The other rabbis gave the money. He didn't say because he had no proof. It's just a thought he had, so he couldn't say that. So they give the money, or Meir Baal HaNes doesn't. They give it to him for Shabbat. After Shabbat comes, they're about to go on their way, and they go to Kidor. They say, Kidor, can you give us back our money?
No speak English.
And Kidor says, money? What money? What do you mean, what money? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. So after he leaves and they don't know what to do, they turn to Meir Baal HaNes and say, why didn't you give him your money? Where did you hide it? He said, I put it in there, whatever. I heard it in the cemetery. He says, why didn't you give it? He says, oh, the pasuk says, Kidor tapuch nehema. He says, oh, so why didn't you tell us? Lashon hara, I didn't say it. So Meir, he says, what are we going to do now? Meir says, you know what? Call this guy back. Call him back. Call him back. And they say, you say to him, listen, Kidor, you know what? You're right. We probably never gave you the money. We made a mistake. We want to make peace with you. Come, join us in drinking some wine. And they gave him wine. Who's going to refuse free wine? So they gave this guy. Yeah, they gave this guy wine. They gave him wine, 1 cup, 2 cup, 3 cup, 4 cups. And he's drunk. He falls asleep. And on his beard, they see some beans, lentils. So Meir Baal HaNes and the rabbis, they go to his house where his wife was, and they tell to his wife, your husband said that you should return the money he brought on Friday to us. And for proof, you guys had lentils today for food. That was the proof that he gave. The lady was convinced, even though she said he never gives back money that he brings home, but I guess so. And she goes and she got their bags and gave it back to them. And the Meir Baal HaNes was able to save their money. Again, maybe that's why you want to save Meir Baal HaNes, to save your money, get your money. A lot of schutim. Right. We're not going to end the story over there, but I will tell you, okay, we have a few minutes left. I would like to look at a topic in halacha. The topic doesn't apply to any of us at the moment here, but it is a topic that we should know because we all have a relative or know somebody. Can a Kohen go to medical school?
No.
So everyone here is like, no. But then how do you find sometimes doctors who are Kohanim?
A friend of mine, he gynecolog, Kohen. Kohen, он взял разрешение у поиска.
It's a problem. How extent is the problem? We're going to see in a moment. Okay.
They have to go to morgue. They have to open
Rabbi.
corpses.
Okay.
I know somebody, he's OBGYN, Kohen.
Yeah. There's a lot of Dr. Cohens.
Listen,
there's a lot of Dr. Cohens.
My neighbor's last name Cohen. He's not Cohen.
So the question is, what is the issues? What is the issues? And what are the heterim, if there are any? Okay. So obviously the pasuk in this week's parsha tells us, "Lenefesh lo yitama be'amav." You should not become defiled to a soul among his nation. A Kohen is not allowed to become tuma lamet. Okay, he's not allowed to become tamei meis. Now, to what extent? This obviously applies to a Jewish body. What about a Goyish body?
It's okay.
So it's a mahloket. Okay? It's a mahloket rishonim as to whether the body of a non-Jew is mitameh. Okay? It's a mahloket. Shulchan Aruch says it's appropriate to avoid stepping over the grave of a non-Jew. And the Ramah says also it's good to be strict, to stay away from the body of the guy. Now, is it only the touch or also the ohel? That's another mahloket. The tent. We know a Jewish body is mitameh with touch and in being in that same room. For the guy, so it's a mahloket if the guy's body is mitameh, and it's a mahloket only mitameh b'touch or also in an ohel. Okay, also in the tent, also in the same room. So if there are any heterim, Because Lamaisa, number one, you're going to be in the hospital, and there are a lot of dead bodies there in the morgue and stuff like that. But even worse, when they're in medical school,
They have to open corpses.
they have to open a corpse, a cadaver. They have to dissect a human body.
Yeah.
So what are the heterim? Okay. Ramosha writes that someone once came to him and said b'shem of a Talmid Chacham that the reason why a kohen is allowed to go to medical school is because of pekuach nefesh. Right? People's lives are on the line. So say good. Why is that not a good reasoning?
Because there's so many doctors, you don't need one more.
Better. Say a better reason. So Moshe says, what are you talking about? It's only pekuach nefesh if he's already a doctor and he can now save people.
Okay.
When he's in school, there's no pekuach nefesh at that moment. Pekuach nefesh is at that moment, right? No one tells you have to become a millionaire so you can give tzedakah, right, to that amount. You don't have a chiyuv to do that. You have to give tzedakah depending on what you have and how much you can give. The same thing with pekuach nefesh. Pekuach nefesh is at the moment. Not that I'm studying now, maybe Talmid Lameis, because 10, 20 years later I'm going to be in the case of pekuach nefesh. So Moshe held that was a very weak argument. He says, if you're a volunteer, like for Hatzalah doesn't have to open up a cadaver. A kohen could be a Hatzalah, because now, at the moment the person is calling Hatzalah, then it's pekuach nefesh.
But people die.
So then that's fine, because at that moment it's a pekuach nefesh. It is this case of life and death at that moment. So I can be mitam l'meis. But to study and to be in school with the cadaver, that would be a problem. The Ravad says that you know why it's allowed, because of sveika. If one is already touching a dead body, he's not adding any more tuma if he touches the second body, says the Ravad. That even if one is merely already tamei mace, says the Ravad, and not in contact with an actual mace, he's not actually adding any tumah by touching another body. So says the Ravad, all of us are tumah lamet, right? You all have tumah mace. Everybody in this world now. We don't have. So he says you don't get any more by being mitameh lamet to another dead body.
I heard the other way around.
No, this is his opinion for right now. Yeah, it's not the end. So he says you can use a sveika, double that. Perhaps halacha follows the Rishonim who hold that non-Jewish bodies are not mitameh. Remember, it's a machloket. Do non-Jewish bodies give off tumah? So maybe you could say it's a sefek if they give tumah or not. And even if they are mitameh, perhaps according to the Ravad, who holds that there's no issur for a kohen who's already tameh to come into further contact with the dead body, so yeah, therefore it would be permissible. The Dagul Meir Ravad himself says, no, you shouldn't use this. And he just says, when the Ravad says that there's no more tumah met, he means that he cannot be punishable on a Torah level. But there is still an increase of tumat met if he comes to another body. Right. So again, there is this sveika over here, the Dagul Meir Ravad, and he wants to say maybe that's why, but others, then the Dagul Meir Ravad himself says I wouldn't hold to this. Rav Shlomo Goren, he came up with an idea. There is a Gemara in Nazir. The Gemara says, Cherev harehu kichalal. The metal, that comes in contact with the dead body has the same status of the body itself.
Metal?
Yeah, so if a metal touches the dead body, the metal has the same status of the dead body. However, the Tosfos in Nazir says a kohen is permitted to touch such a piece of metal. So Rav Goren said, go take a ring, touch the cadaver, bring it to the kohen. The kohen's allowed to put it on. Tosfos said, allowed to put it on. And now it's already as if he's touching the dead body. And he's allowed to touch the dead body at this time because it's just the ring. So now it's already if he's touching the dead body, so there's no more touching more of the same body. So he wanted to use this. Majority of poskim reject this chiddush completely for various reasons. Gabriel didn't like it at all. He said out. So yes. So many poskim don't agree to that. Rav Moshe David Tendler, he held that if a kohen is highly motivated to attend medical school, that He says the problem is touching the dead body. But to be in the same room would be okay. Problem is touching the non-Jewish dead body. To being in the same room with a non-Jewish dead body, that's okay. So he says if the Kohen can get an anatomy class where he doesn't have to touch the dead body, but he can point with a laser or something like that, and knowing what he's doing, showing showing the stuff. In fact, I was told that one medical school wanted to go away from cadavers, and they wanted to get like a 3D printed body or something like that with everything inside of it. But anyway, if he can do that, then fine. So it's not the problem of being in the same room, it's the problem of touching the dead body. Rav Hershel Schachter, he holds a Kohen may not be in the room as a non-Jewish body, and therefore rules that there's no way for a Kohen to attend medical school. He adds, based on Rav Moshe, Nigras Moshe, that since it is well known that Kohanim may not become Tameh, it's a Chil Hashem for a Kohen to attend medical school. Even if you want to say there are some kulos, as doing so seems to be in violation of a well-known Isur. Now, once he becomes a doctor, so then he can use the Pekuach Nefesh, right? Because now people's life and death is in his hand. So, it's life and death situations, and then it has actual Pekuach Nefesh, like Hatzala guy or something like that. But to go to school, it seems to be problematic for Kohanim. If a Kohen is really motivated to go to medical school, I would suggest him highly to speak to a posek to see what, if, and how, what can be done. But no, there are some poskim that allow it. And some poskim were saying, b'shem oifer nisht, it is not possible for a Kohen to go to medical school. You know, and I mean yet? Okay.
What if
They still have, the mitzvah still exists. The mitzvah still exists. He cannot be tamad amit. Even with that, it doesn't be done.
613.
Yeah.
So if the knife holds the tumah, so how does it work with treif meat? If you shecht it still becomes treif knife?
No, tumah is tumah, and terefa is terefa.
I mean,
we have minyan now.
Okay.
We have minyan?